Hello, everybody, and welcome to another tantalizing episode of your favorite podcast, Nessie's Dead, the show where we take a deep plunge into the darker sides of life, exploring all of our darkest curiosities.
This case that we're going to go into today is, I hope you can stomach it.
Okay.
I will tell you, it sounds like it's going to start off with a child. It is not a child, so don't think I'm doing that to you.
Okay. I tried to figure out the case. I tried to find it because when you gave me the hints to it, I was like, okay, I can figure it out. I can research the case before she tells me so I know what I'm getting into. And I couldn't find it. I could not find anything in regards to what you described. So either you were lying or it's not a very well-known case.
So today on Nessie's Dead with your host Helen and Spencer, we're going to be plunging into the horrific case of Lacey Fletcher. Now,
Lacey Fletcher. Lacey. I feel like I know this name.
Now, yes, this case, when this happened, it was all over the media. It was a huge deal. I watched several things where they were even interviewing the coroner, the police department, things like that. And I have to warn you, it is so graphic that even the coroner and the police suffered for weeks after this. And this guy was a coroner for 3 decades. He said he couldn't eat for a week after walking into this scene. All right.
What era is this?
Oh, this is current time. So this wrapped up in 2022.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're going to go back a little bit here, though. We're going to get a little bit of backstory. It was difficult to find a lot of information about her parents, but we'll start out with the information I could find. So her parents are Clay and Sheila Fletcher. They were born in the 1950s, and they have both lived in Louisiana their entire lives. So with this, it's kind of hard to see like what would make them commit such a horrific crime with not having like any background stories or what their childhood was like, or so it does put in a big blank for the puzzle. Yeah,
that makes it even creepier. Of like, just like, we don't know why you're insane. You're just insane.
Yeah, and I thought I would have thought it was going to be easy to find some information on them, specifically because this was such a big case. Now, they lived in a town called Slaughter, Louisiana. Okay. Not the best name for the town for this case, for sure. No. Yeah, this is a really small town, so we're looking at about 900 people in this town. It is interesting, though, because it's not like a suburban looking town. So the houses are kind of spread out. So if you were going to keep secrets and do things like, I suppose it could be easy to get away with it. But do just keep in mind, we're looking at a very tight-knit community here. Clay actually worked as an officer for the Baton Rouge Civil War Roundtable. I had to look that up. So basically, it's like a nonprofit business, and they just make awareness about the Civil War and things like that. Yeah, so that's
very odd job.
I know. I was like, the Baton Rouge Civil War Roundtable, what the heck? But yeah, so they just create awareness for the battles and the things that happen. Now, Sheila, the mom, though, she worked as police and county clerk, and then eventually assistant to the city prosecutor. And then she was voted into city council and eventually became the town's vice mayor.
I didn't even know mayors had a vice.
Me neither, but I did learn that they do. That kind of gives you a setup that they're, very respected in this town, this community. I mean, she's taken all these roles all the way up to here. He's on the round table somewhere. But again, small community, they're going to be very popular within that community if they're taking this many roles. Now, on the 25th of November, 1985, they welcomed their daughter, Lacey. Lacey was described as very loved, only what we can assume to be a perfectly normal childhood. From the outside in, looking at the photos and things like that, it did seem like She grew up with a completely normal childhood. She went to a private Christian academy, and her neighbors and friends described her as smart. They said she was very thoughtful, caring. She was on the volleyball team. She loved country music, Disney. And I mean, she was a huge Disney fan. She really loved like even the Disney music, all about Disney. But overall, like I said, from what we can see, it seemed like a normal, happy childhood.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, this would all change. She was diagnosed with severe, there's two different things I saw, autism, but for the most part, I saw that it was Asperger's syndrome. So I'm going to go with that. Asperger's syndrome is a developmental issue. It can cause a person to have difficulty relating to people socially. Their thinking patterns can become rigid and kind of repetitive. So it makes them really not mature as much as with others. And that's kind of what started happening to her as she was going into her teenage years in the 9th grade. Things took a dramatic change. She started facing bullying at this point. Her interest just stopped maturing. So she was kind of stuck in this childlike behavior. So you think of it, all of her friends are kind of moving forward to different things, but she's still obsessed with Disney and Disney movies and just not scooching along with them. So
poor little Lacey.
I know. Now, her friends, she still did have friends. And her friends said that she would still email them things and Disney videos all the way up to 2014. She was still in the volleyball team. She still had somewhat of a social life, but it was beginning to start shutting down where friends weren't coming to see her as much. This was causing her social anxiety. So she was also not leaving the house as much during this time point as well. Yeah, so big change there. With this change, her parents did take her to a psychologist whom determined that Lacey had a very low IQ. From the accounts that I was reading from her neighbor friends and things like that, they said she was very, very smart. So I'm conflicted on that because the account said that, Lacey was actually very smart. She was just immature.
Maybe she was less book smart and more like, I don't know. I don't
know how IQ test works, so I really can't tell you what they're testing you on.
I don't know. Ketchup
and mustard.
Yeah, that's the best I got.
Now, during this time period, she saw the psychologist for only 12 visits. Not a whole lot of time, especially if this much was going on. Just 12 visits. At the end of her 9th grade year, her parents did decide to pull her completely out of school. They decided she was going to be homeschooled at this point forward. This is where we start seeing her rarely being seen in public. Like, it starts to dwindle. So she starts to leave the house less and less. The neighbor did say that he used to see her walking around the neighborhood, usually with like small weights in her hand, like she was working out. She was always kind of thin. So he just assumed, she worked out a lot. Now, at 16, though, she was taken to another doctor to see if they could find any kind of solution. But that would be the last doctor she will ever see in her life. So at 16 years old would be the last time.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So for the next 5 years, this was her routine, would be homeschooling, the occasional walk around the neighborhood, maybe a trip to the grocery store. But as the age of 21 years old comes, this would halt all of that as she completely disappears.
Okay. I saw that coming.
Yeah. Now, no one really questioned this. One of the neighbors had come over and kind of asked about her, and the dad kind of downplayed it and got over the subject. But the extended family, friends, nobody really kind of checked in to see where Lacey had gone. They kind of acted like everything was normal. This may have been, you got to think she's 21 years old. It's a small town. A lot of kids, what do they do as soon as they can? They
get up out of town.
Yeah, get up and leave, get out of town. So, I mean, it could have been assumed that she was graduated or went over to college, or maybe she got a boyfriend and decided to move out somewhere with them. It was really odd because even if you leave home and venture out on your own. You tend to come back every once in a while for holidays, events, maybe to check in. Maybe if she did find a significant other, wouldn't she bring them by the house, kind of say hi?
Yeah. Or like the neighbor or whatever is talking to the parents, and the parents could have been like, oh, like she's living with her boyfriend Stan, or she's in college. Like you would say, like you wouldn't just kind of like change the subject. You would get into at least a little bit of detail of where she is.
Yeah, exactly. So there
At
would have
least
been
make
some
something
kind of,
up.
yeah, there would have been some kind of story. But Lacey had actually, she had never left. She had never gone anywhere. She had never even left the house. She had never even left the living room or the sofa.
Mm-hmm.
For every single day after this, it was said that she would refuse to leave the couch. Her parents said this was Lacey's choice and that they had no control over this. So at this point, she has not left the couch in 3 years.
I mean, there's something you can do in that situation.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
like grab her and move her. I mean, there's something.
They had been told by, and we'll get into this here in a second, but yeah, you can also do where you call like, it's like an adult harm, and they have to force them because she is an adult. At that point, legally, they could have had her forced into hospitalization, things like that. So even if she's saying this is against my will, I want to be here, I want to stay, I don't want to move. There's precautions they could take in.
Now, did she develop any further mental disabilities or physical disabilities that would bring her to the point of not leaving a couch?
No. Now, there was some rumor that it could be Lockstock syndrome, I believe is what it's called. I'll get to it here in my notes. But what that would cause a person to do is basically their muscles and everything would no longer work. Now, mentally, they're there. Sometimes they're not able to speak even, but their brain's still fully operational and there. But it was sought out by professionals that that wasn't the case at all.
Oh.
Yeah, so that wasn't the case. So,
Okay. Odd.
yeah. During these 3 years here, when I say she never left the couch, we're talking about she slept on the couch. All of her meals had to be brought to the couch. They would have to get up and put the Disney DVDs on the TV so she could watch them. She wasn't showering, bathing, and the part of this that really is graphic, and you'll see why later, is she wasn't even getting up to use the bathroom. Now, the parents said that they tried a portable toilet, but she wouldn't get up. So they were basically having her defecate and urinate in a towel that was placed under her on the sofa.
So they just went with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can imagine the rashes and issues and what you're going to get if you're defecating on yourself at
For
this
years.
point. We're looking at 3 years. At this point, she is now 24 years old. Her parents did see a doctor about Lacey's condition. They didn't take Lacey to the doctor, but they went and told the doctor what was happening, what her state of mind was. Now, they did say Lacey was communicating like normal. She was functioning normally mentally, but she wouldn't leave that couch. So the doctor, of course, recommended her immediately to be taken to a hospital. They refused to do this. They said that she was perfectly happy and never communicated that she was in pain or discomfort during this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they could care less about her safety?
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're talking about somebody that's in a hospital for a small amount of time, they have to usually like roll you over, make sure you don't have bed sores, like clean you up, or else, yeah, you can't just lay and defecate on yourself. I mean, for even a small time period, you can't do that.
No, not even a day.
Maybe a week, and then you're going to have some serious medical issues.
Oh, no, I meant like in a hospital.
Oh, yeah, no, because, you can't do that at all. They're going to be in there
No.
cleaning you up, making sure.
I mean, they should be.
Even with them going to the doctor and everything, and the doctor now acknowledging that this was taking place, there was still no welfare check done. Nobody came and checked on her after the doctor was informed. Like, you would think he would have maybe alerted somebody that, like,
Yeah.
hey, this family's had this woman on a couch for like 3 years, their daughter. Like, maybe we could
Not
go over
blaming the
there.
doctor, but maybe the doctor could have stepped in a little bit and been like, hey, this and this is happening. I'm just like, someone needs to go check this out just in case.
Yeah, this is the part here that's crazy. So this situation with Lacey carries on for over a decade.
Oh.
For 12 years, she has never left the sofa.
12 years.
12 years. I think I have a photo I'm going to send you. This is
Great. I get photos of this.
the mom and dad. Now,
Okay.
what's disturbing about this picture?
The poorly decorated Christmas tree.
This Christmas tree is in the living room where Lacey is literally rotting to death and slowly dying on a sofa. So
that does make it creepy.
Yeah.
Going around normal life just as if she's not there.
Yep.
Or as if it's normal.
And she is sitting there in her own feces on the sofa. Her mom also was very big into Facebook, social media. So she was posting a lot of things, going to a lot of events. And nobody ever still thought to say, where's Lacey? It's just so disturbing. She was one of those moms that, I think this literally came off of their Facebook, was obsessed. Like, you knew she was having ramen for lunch, like, kind of woman. After this much time, Sheila and Clay, they are carrying on like nothing's wrong. They're still going on vacations, things like that. So at this moment, they had just come back from a weekend getaway. So they were gone for the whole weekend.
I don't understand how she got food or water if they're gone, because no one's bringing it to her.
Exactly. We're looking here now at January 2022. This would be 15 years since she was last seen in public. At this point, Lacey is now 36 years old. On this day, Sheila calls 911. She has reported
already?
Lacey. Yep. But we got some stuff to cover throughout here too as well. It's going to be a shorter case though. So Sheila calls 911 on this day, and she's reported that Lacey has stopped breathing. She doesn't know why. She also told the 911 operator, she doesn't know why. And she also told her that she had stopped eating. And when the 911...
she did.
Yeah, you guys had been gone for the weekend.
Yeah, you didn't give her food.
So I'm going to send you a little photo of the house here. So it's a very beautiful, well-kept house. Everything looks very normal.
Like it's out kind of in the country in the south.
Yeah, it looks very normal. Now, the placement on this in the map, though, you can see that there are houses around it. So it's not like it's down a dirt road or anything like that. There are homes around it. Not very close by, not like a suburban, but they're there. During this 911 call, she also tells the operator that it's a long story when the operator's trying to get more details. The operator's going in and she's asking, well, how old is she? Because she kept saying, oh, she's an adult, though. And she goes, well, how old is she?
To clear her name.
Yeah. And she couldn't remember how old Lacey was. She even gets the age wrong and says that she's 31. So she completely gets it off by 5 years. Her own daughter, she can't remember how old she is.
Wow. So like super neglect. It's not just like, oh, I forget my daughter's age and birthday, but we left her on the couch and then we left her to go to wherever they went and we chose not to leave her with food.
Well, they did leave her with a bag of peppermints, it would seem.
Okay.
It would seem. We would find that out later, but it does seem maybe she was left with a bag of peppermint. But the operator is, of course, telling them you need to put her on the floor. You need to start doing CPR. And they claim that they cannot put her on the floor. They said that they were doing chest compressions to Lacey on the sofa and doing CPR, but from the 911 call, it sounds like it was very faked. After 911 is called, of course, Here comes the sheriff. He arrives to the scene of the home, and the first sight of Lacey on the sofa, he said it's the worst thing he's ever seen in his life. At this point, he didn't know what to do other than to just call the coroner. I'm going to send you a photo of what he would have seen. Now, this is not going to be that graphic. She is covered up here. But the next photo is really going to make that graphic for you. But we'll wait a second. So this is Lacey on the sofa. They have covered her with a green blanket.
She's laying down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, her hair.
And if you'll notice, where's the rest of her body?
Yeah,
We'll get to that. So ponder on that. So now the coroner arrives. He states that the smell when you walked into the house was the worst smell he has ever smelled in his life. He deals with rotting corpse. He deals with people that have been found homicides, decayed, drowned in a lake.
Whole 9 yards.
And to him, this was the worst smell he had ever smelled. And that was just him walking into the home.
She's melting into the furniture.
Exactly. He said, just walking into the home, it was hot. The air was thick. It smelled like rotting flesh, sewer, blood.
So that's what the parents lived in.
Yeah. He was heaving before he even made it over to where Lacey was. That's how bad it was. I mean, the scene, it was so horrific. Like I said, this coroner broke down crying in the interview about what he had seen.
And he sees so much.
Yeah.
Someone that's probably not very squeamish to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, this is his daily job, is to go pick up a body or, suicide.
Is the coroner the one that picks it up?
Yeah.
Oh.
And comes to pronounce them dead or whatever.
Okay.
Now, the sofa alone was completely covered in so much human feces that the leather itself had molted away. And even the padding, the cushioning, had also started melting away. So it just left a huge hole that was covered in feces. So now I'm going to send you the picture of after they took her out. You'll be able to see here where she was.
Okay.
And that brown in there is feces.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we put a towel under her.
Yeah. So
what, once?
She was discovered sat in that hole. Now, the room around her was completely perfectly normal. And I'm going to send that over to you too. So you can see it wasn't like she was living in a hoarder home or it was disgusting everywhere. You can see that the home around her looks like a normal freaking living room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they posted that picture in front of the Christmas tree too. Lacey was described by the coroner as the worst thing he'd ever seen. He first noticed she was only wearing a small blue t-shirt. So no pants, no underwear, no bra. The t-shirt was also pulled all the way up, so she was completely exposed.
Why?
Don't know. Now, the mom would go on to say later on in her questioning that, oh no, she had changed Lacey's clothes daily. You can clearly see that was a lie and that's not the case.
Yeah, sure.
She was malnourished, weighing only around 96 pounds for a 36-year-old woman.
Ugh.
Her bones and frame were actually shriveled as well. She was literally just sunk into a feces pit in the sofa with her legs crossed, slumped over for this amount of time. Now, there's some things while her legs were crossed. There could be some like muscle loss And after
Yeah.
you have so much muscle loss, they kind of just spaz up. But literally, the whole sofa, she was buried up to her shoulders in the sofa. So the condition of her hair, skin, nails, everything is covered in feces. We're not talking like this was new feces. This was old, crusted, every crevice you could think, her ears,
What?
her nose. It was even found in her stomach during the autopsy.
Why?
We'll get there. It's rough. Her hair that you had seen in that picture had been matted into a ball. They said it was like 20 by 20-inch ball. Her scalp was red blotches. Her face as well had red blotches. All of her body. Her nails, toenails, all super long, all filled with feces. Worst of it all, now this is where it starts getting a little bit graphic here, is,
This is where?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
she was also covered in maggots. They were all over her skin, all in the couch. Also, other types of different bugs. Rodent droppings were all around the couch as well. And the maggots had started eating the inside of her ears.
Oh, wow. And so her parents just, they see all of it happening. The bugs, the rodents, the melting,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. So she literally was sitting there alive and being eaten by maggots. Now, we don't know if that condition with the maggots and the bugs had been weeks, months, or even years, but from what they said, she had no backside anymore.
Oh.
So when you think of her butt, it was just exposed bone. It had been going on for a while.
Oh, yeah, must have. I mean, bugs appear so fast. You could leave some food out that fell on the floor, and bugs show up the next day.
Yeah, now think about a body that's been sitting in pretty much a porta potty. So, I mean, it's just so hard to know that she was alive. And the coroner even showed evidence from the positioning she was in. It looked like she had tried to get up and was just too weak.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder what was going through her mind. I mean, I wonder what was going through it at the beginning of this, but...
I mean, at any point in this, her parents should have taken her to get help. There should have never been any state to where your child is even a couple weeks or month not leaving the sofa.
Yeah.
If one of my kids started shitting and pissing on the sofa, I'd be like, absolutely fucking not. I'd be like, I don't care if you're not going to the doctor. I don't care if you're not going to the hospital because they're coming to get you.
Yeah.
We're not about to do this. Moving forward. Now, what was even worse is the coroner then tried to move Lacey's body. You heard in the 911 call, they said, oh, we can't get her off the couch. And that is because she has been fused with the couch. With the amount of bed sores and things that are going on, they explained it in a way that her skin would have melted.
Okay.
And then as it did and kind of moved away from the body and would start to kind of harden again, at this point, it starts latching itself onto the sofa. So the dried skin then has become infused into the sofa leather, the cushions. Her skin began to decompose into the sofa while she was still alive. She is fused into this sofa.
They really couldn't move her
Not
at this point.
No, not at this point. I mean, they're letting her rot alive into the sofa. You got to imagine how many bed sores and things that you have to be, and those are painful.
I'm
Bed
shocked she
sores.
didn't die of some disease way before this all happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm shocked that, like, a year in, she didn't die of an infection.
Well, we don't know exactly how many years. The coroner does suggest it's probably almost a decade that this has happened.
Like, that she had been dead for a decade?
No, she didn't die until the 911 call was made. Everything that we're going through, she was alive.
So she must have a crazy immune system.
I don't know. But she was alive during all this. The maggots. They even found sofa matter and maggots in her bones.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine how painful that must have been if she even had feelings still in her legs?
I can't imagine the pain.
I wonder if she
And
felt it. Like, I wonder if.
I mean, I would think you would feel maggots eating your ears.
Yeah, maybe the upper stuff, but the stuff at the bottom half, I wonder if, because. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a biologist.
I would still think you would be able to feel. I mean, her entire bones from her ass were out. There's no way that she was comfortable, like her parents say, and completely content with the situation, especially if the coroner does say that it looked like she had been trying to drag herself up. We're basically looking at someone that's been sleeping in a makeshift toilet for 12 years
Yeah.
here.
With leather.
Mm-hmm. The coroner did spend about an hour at this point checking out the scene. And then at 3:07 a.m., the 3rd of January, 2022, Lacey Fletcher was pronounced dead, and the cause of death was declared as a homicide. Immediately, right then and there, Clay and Sheila, they were arrested. Law officials even stated that after this, they couldn't sleep, they couldn't eat during this investigation. And it was due to the mental stress and the gruesome nature of the case for them. So this affected
Now,
a lot of people.
do you know if the parents were like, no, you can't arrest me, or did they like willingly go?
Well, during the whole crime scene, when the police and everything were showing up, I did hear that, Sheila put off a fake tear or two, just kind of seemed a little bit more worried about herself here. The dad really didn't have any expression. Not a whole lot was going on there. So I don't see anything about how they felt when they were arrested. Now, after the arrest, of course, the cause of death was ruled to be acute medical neglect. She did die due to sepsis, and this was caused by a bone infection due to, of course, the ulcers, extreme malnourishment,
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Once sepsis sets in, it gets you
Yeah.
very fast.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm shocked that did not happen. Like I said, I'm shocked it didn't happen right away.
Exactly. They could have been cleaning her up here and there. We really don't know, other than the point of what she was found and how long it was stated she was there. I mean, even the doctors, the autopsy person said that it was the worst state he'd ever seen a body in. Like I said before, her legs were fused together. Her skin melted away in spots. She did test positive for COVID as well. That's got to be awful because COVID freaking sucks. So during her time of death, she also had COVID.
I wonder if maybe that's what made the sepsis finally set in, was that her body was too. I mean, it was obviously too weak the whole time, but maybe that was like the final straw with her body.
I would think so. I mean, COVID is unbearable.
Well, and at that time, because the whole reason COVID was able to spread like it did was because it was so new and our immune systems couldn't take it.
Yeah, and she
And
hasn't left the house.
yeah, so for her, COVID was probably this like really scary thing.
We can only imagine if she's rotting and going through all this pain with these bed stores and maggots, and now she has COVID on top of this. I mean, it seems to me like she was a survivor, like at some point that she's dealing with this much, that maybe COVID was just the kicker for her.
Yeah, it had
Now,
to be.
I would think so with all this. Now, what's even more disturbing, like I said before, the family did go away for the weekend. So when they did look into her stomach, they found sofa foam and feces, and like I said before, some peppermints. Now, a couple sites did not mention the peppermints and some did, so I'm going to throw the peppermints in there. Maybe they weren't, maybe they were. Now, the coroner did say when he was there, he saw a baggie of something that looked like hard candy beside her. So I'm going to go with she did have peppermints in there, but she did have no food. So she was surviving off of eating the sofa itself as well.
Okay. So she's not mentally stable, I'm assuming.
She's starving to death. I mean, she's 96 pounds. You'd eat the sofa too.
I mean, there's got to be something mental there that would lead her to doing this on the couch to begin with.
Yeah, that's
And
the part as well. It's like,
but like how? Unless the parents were involved in other ways that we don't know.
I mean, if they're this sinister to be doing what they're doing, I wouldn't doubt it at all.
Maybe in the very beginning they were giving her some kind of sedative or...
She does have Asperger's syndrome, so maybe they weren't allowing her to leave the couch.
Maybe. And maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's very mysterious on how we get to this point, but yet you can see that she was, in the end, she was trying to get up and she was trying to help herself. So that's what makes it seem like, when people go into extreme emergency mode, they'll fight for their life.
Mm-hmm.
And if she would really given up on life a long time ago, then why would she start fighting for it now? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, it makes no sense that she would have been trying to lift herself up as weak as she is, eating sofa foam and feces.
Now she has COVID.
Yeah. I don't think if you're trying to survive, you would start eating that. You would probably just fall asleep and let it happen.
If it's interesting to note that she probably tried to get up when they were not home.
Well, they had said that her legs, she had lost all, even before we're talking about the decomposition and the maggots, she had lost that movement in her legs and her leg muscles after so long.
Yeah, she probably did after
maybe 5 years.
Even. Oh,
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
In a year. Well, maybe not 1 year, but I don't think it takes long to mess up your legs if you don't use them at all.
Oh, we'd have to look that up. Now, her parents were able to pull bail. This is what really pissed me off about this too. So the bail was set at $72,000. And
is that a high bail?
I would say it's a mid. It's not in the millions, but $72,000 isn't a small chunk of change. What pisses me off is they paid this in cash.
They paid themselves?
Yeah. So they had the money to help their daughter. If you think about it like that. Oh, they got $72,000 in cash to pay for their bail, but they didn't have any money to make sure that even if they had a hospital room set up in the living room for Lacey and nurses that came in, things like that. It sounds like they could afford the accommodations.
Yes, very easily.
Mm-hmm. And then as soon as they are out on bail, remember Sheila, she loves her Facebook. She has the audacity to post, "Mom and Dad love you so much."
Like a memorial post?
Yes. Sickening.
That's all it said?
Yeah. She still was trying to make it look like, oh, feel bad for us. Like, oh, we loved you so much.
Yeah, we allowed our daughter to become a couch.
Yeah. Now.
What a bitch.
I know. And she was the assistant mayor.
That's so weird. An assistant mayor, a vice mayor. I wonder how common that is, because I've never heard of that.
And for a town of 900, you don't think you'd really need two of you out there.
No.
One could handle the measurements. After 2 weeks, they were out on bail. Questioning did begin, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But during these 2 weeks, they're going about their lives. They're going to church. They're just, of course, the community knows kind of what's going on. So it's not like it's completely going back, but they are acting like Lottie fucking da.
That's
So,
scary.
yeah, you would think you would be like freaked out, not leaving your home. Nope, they were just moving on. They reported during their questioning that it was all Lacey. Lacey refused to move, and they didn't want to force her to do anything she wasn't comfortable with. And of course, Lacey was an adult. They claimed to try to get her up and get her to use the bathroom, but she just wouldn't. What could they do? Was what they were saying. And they said she was never sick, so we didn't need a doctor.
Oh, right.
She was never sick. She was just melted into her couch, but she was never sick. Okay.
Yeah, everything else is fine.
It's all fine. Everything is fine. She even claimed, you saw the picture of that sofa.
Uh-huh.
She even claimed that she would sleep on the sofa with Lacey at night.
I hope she didn't.
You know, she did not do that. No, nobody was sleeping on that sofa but Lacey. She said that she fed her. They would eat dinner with Lacey.
How could they do that? How could they eat dinner, or even how could they live in that house?
Oh, and the coroner himself was gagging at the doorstep. He wasn't even into the living room. And
Yeah, if you can discuss a coroner with your house, that says something.
That does say something. That man has smelled a lot. Like I said, they did claim that they were eating dinner with her and that she was, like I said before, dressing Lacey every day. That she was also using lotions and creams and would wipe Lacey down. Now, if you look at that photo I sent you, you can see a table with creams and lotions and powders. So they exist, but it doesn't seem like she was using them the way she claimed she was using these products.
Well, and if she's melted into the couch,
how
bare bone coming out, how is she changing her? Like, she's not. Like, she would give her a new t-shirt, maybe.
Maybe that's why she was only wearing a t-shirt.
And how come her hair looked like that? That's what happened to her hair after a few days of not being brushed? No.
I mean, it was just a ball of feces. So you can bring a bucket over and like rinse her hair out.
Yeah.
Or if you have $72,000 for bail money, you can hire nurses to come in and take care of her. I mean, even in those pictures, you do see some clothing stacked up over there as well. That was Lacey's, but like I said, maybe it was all for looks. And who knows that she didn't run out and put all that stuff out there before 911 came. Thinking oh shit, like let's make it look like we've been taking care of her.
Honestly, that's probably exactly what happened.
Yeah, I don't feel like they were doing
like anything. You can allow that much to go down, but you still do all these other little things. Like, no, if you're doing those other little things, you're doing the main things too.
Yeah, you're gonna get her actual help.
Yeah.
Now, when asked about how she was before her death, they said Lacey was fine. They said that she did eat the day before and she had some Cheetos in a sandwich. But we know that was a lie because no food was found in Lacey's stomach. So, again, all a lie. After all this story starts breaking the headlines, people were trying to figure out, of course, how this could happen. So like I was saying before, a lot of people in the media and stuff thought it was this locked in syndrome is what it's called. So this is a neurological syndrome that makes you not able to move your muscles. But like I said, your brain is still functioning. So that's what people kind of thought it was going to be. But the coroner said that this was not the case. And doctors did clarify that she had never suffered from this and that the only thing she had ever suffered from was extreme social anxiety and the Asperger's syndrome. Clay and Sheila, they, of course, did not give much information about what actually happened here. after 18 months, they finally would go to pretrial where they tell you what's going to happen. And they were charged with second-degree murder.
Good.
They pleaded not guilty.
Okay.
Yeah. In February 2024, so recently, they decided to arrange a plea deal for manslaughter. They pleaded no contest.
What?
They pleaded no contest.
What does that mean?
So I think because maybe it's a plea deal, so it's kind of like we're going to take this lower sentence, but instead of saying not guilty or guilty, they pleaded no contest, which meaning neither, I'm assuming is what that means.
Okay.
They had their lawyer make a statement for them. This statement was to the media announcing what their court arrangements were and stuff. They stated that Clay and Sheila said that they loved their daughter to death.
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, not the best statement you could have your lawyers make.
To the moon and back would have probably sounded much better.
Unless, is this funny to them? Are they finding like who would have their lawyers make that statement? Because obviously maybe you did. To death.
But doesn't the lawyer kind of have a little bit more of a say with it?
Unless they have just really crappy lawyers. I mean, I don't know what lawyer would get up there and be like, they said that they love their daughter to death.
Yeah. The lawyer should have been like, no.
Well, after all this, to this day, they're still saying that it was all Lacey. They had no choice but to do what Lacey wanted. They did get sentenced to 20 years behind bars. They will both be getting out of just 20. It's sickening. Now, the cap on manslaughter is a total of 40 years. But they got 20. So
they should have gotten 40.
They should have gotten 40.
They'll be out. Died.
Yeah, but they'll be out by their 80s. During this trial as well, I just kind of wanted to add this in. Just to give, like, if they only got 20 years, I mean, that's got to be purely more on the judge. During this trial, the photos, descriptions, and scenes were so graphic for the jury, they had to keep a medical staff on hand during the trial.
That alone gives 40 years.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, when researching this, I did come across, I didn't screenshot those, and I'm not sending those over to you because nobody should see those. I did come across like a autopsy photo and some other ones where it wasn't her blurred on the couch.
Oh.
It's something of nightmares. Like,
it bothered you?
Oh, yeah.
You know it's bad if it bothers Helen.
Yeah, that's why I said, I was like, I am not going to. First of all, I don't want to have that kind of thing on my phone. Like, imagine, like, something happens and law is looking at my phone and they're like, Jesus, you sicko. What? So I did not screenshot any of that. And I also felt like it's something you definitely, I wasn't going to haunt you with other than
thank you.
Sofa. I thought the sofa picture was enough once you get the nitty gritty of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, a lot of speculation goes into this. Some of the theories are, how bad was this the whole time?
Yeah, I wish we could get more context into all of what was going on, because we just kind of really only have what her parents had to say. Which, of course, not that they're trustworthy. They obviously are shady. But it's not like we could, I don't know. I wish there was, like, footage that leaked from inside the house, like, 5 years prior. Or someone saw the scene and inspected it themselves and were able to talk to Lacey. Like, I wish there was more info on this.
Yeah, and I mean, if she's so social media, like, you would think there would be something where she was trying to take a video or a photo and maybe Lacey's in the background slightly, and because she would post it, but maybe it's still there on her phone. For as far as I know, we get none of this. Now, some people have kind of thought that maybe it wasn't all this bad for the full 12 years. Maybe once 2020 happened and everybody kind of went into lockdown and, a lot of people's minds went off radar. Like they thought like this was going to be life now. They thought, a lot of people were thinking this is the end. Maybe that escalated the situation for the parents, and because a lot of people during that time period really kind of gave up on life.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because I feel like if she had really truly been in just that state for over a decade, I think she would have died way sooner. So there had to have been something that they were helping with, because I feel like the rotting and the insects and the sepsis wouldn't take a decade to set in.
Yeah, I don't think it would either. I feel like that's something that, I mean, it could have taken 2 years, which would have been about the time from 2020 to 2022.
Yeah. I mean, like, she's not washing her hands. So,
She's not washing anything.
yeah, that would probably kill you quick enough.
But I mean, the mom did say she was cleaning her up. And I mean, maybe part of that is maybe that was true at one point.
Maybe.
I mean, there's got to be some preventative, because if she's literally for 12 years, you got to think about if only a week you stayed on a couch and didn't move. How disgusting and filthy just what the circumstance would be by the end of that week. I'd have to go with the notion that maybe this didn't get so bad until quarantine.
Yeah, that's what I think.
That would make a lot more sense. I could see 2 years doing this much damage. I can't see anybody surviving 12 years in a condition as bad. But also, they did tell the doctor that she was urinating and defecating on the couch back when it first started happening.
Oh, yeah.
So that was back.
Maybe they were able to kind of fight her and force her up and like, you grab this hand, I grab that hand, you pull her and throw her in the bathtub. And maybe after several months or after several years, the parents were like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
That was when she was 24. She died at 36. So that's when they told the doctor about the condition. And it sounded bad then that she was defecating on herself and was on the couch for 3 years at that point.
I wonder what that same doctor, I wonder what that doctor thinks now.
Like, come on, somebody comes to you and they're like, yeah, my daughter's been defecating on herself for 3 years on the sofa. And he's like, oh, well, make sure she goes to the hospital. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And he's like, all right.
Okay.
She's an adult. You should have called the police. I don't care about HIPAA or whatever. At that point, that's neglect, whether it's an adult or a child. And
I don't care about HIPAA.
If she has Asperger's syndrome, even if she's an adult and her mind has not matured.
Yeah, that to me says that they are liable for more because she's not an adult in the same sense of somebody who doesn't have the same kind of disability.
Yeah, she does have a disability that keeps her kind of in an immature stance. So I think they forced her. I think there was a little bit more force to stay on that couch, especially since they ripped her out of school in 9th grade.
Maybe the mom was like super concerned with image.
Obviously, in the end, ended up ruining them way more.
Yeah.
But yes, that is the case. A very sad, chilling tale of Lacey Fletcher. I
hate that. Like, and she looks and seems like such a little sweetheart.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's all I got for you tonight.
Wow. There's not much theorizing in this one.
There's not, but I feel like it's...
I mean, we went into theories, kind of. But there's not like a... Was it an alien? Like, there's not much to decipher. It just kind of is what it is.
But it's also...
Like, there's obviously more to it.
After I first researched this, I just kept thinking about it throughout the day. And this will hit you probably to where you're just like, think about it a little bit and be like, but then why wouldn't this? And so the more I watched, there was a neighbor I said that stopped by. This hit my mind. If they're also such socialites of the town, going to all these dinner parties and did nobody ever notice why they never hosted anything?
Yeah, and they just never ever had any family over for Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything.
Or
And when
friends?
they went to go to Christmas or Thanksgiving at another person's house, no one was like, "Where's Lacey?" And for several years, for 12 years, oh, she didn't want to come.
Or if somebody's house, like, really, like, you can tell if somebody's got, like, a lot of dogs or
Yeah.
cats, or if they don't keep their house clean. Like, they'll have, like, a smell to them.
Yeah, I
And
was thinking about that. Like on
yeah,
their clothes,
clothes.
they would clothes, hair. It's like if you're a smoker, you
Yeah,
always smell like smoke, no matter how much Bath and Body Works you spritz on yourself.
you will smell like you've been smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, did nobody notice? They kind of smell funky. It's one of these cases. It seems like it's very, like, short and finished, but then it hits you throughout the day where you're like, wait, well, what if? Why didn't? It's one of those that keeps lingering. I feel bad for Lacey, and her story needs to be heard, and it needs to be something that's remembered and not hidden away because it was so horrific that this is something she went through. So with that, I guess we are saying good night.
Good night and pleasant nightmares.
Very pleasant. Bye.
Bye.